Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the American B-17G-60-VE sitting at 5.3 battle rating in rank 4 bombers. This is an amazing, lovely little plane. Of course the bombers are in a particular niche these days in War Thunder, and many of the big ones, the 4-engined bombers, are usually seen as RP piñatas, and in the hands of the average pilot this is definitely the case. Bombers often don't really pay attention, many people don't really know their gunnery, but as you spend more time in bombers, and there is some excellent expert pilots out there findable on the interwebs who are able to who really perfected the bomber gameplay and who can even dogfight with them, and you know, who get multiple kills per match, maybe even aces and better. Of course those are the exception, outlying matches, but there is a learning curve in bombers, let's say that. And my basic skills are above average, maybe too decent. Maybe you can even call them good. I mean, I can move a little bit with the bomber. My gunnery skills are reasonable and become better as I fly them more. Of course I don't fly bombers that often. I actually just had a, as you guys know, a little bit of an hiatus between February and April, as I started my videos again at the end of April. So I was busy with other things, it happens, you know. But so I don't fly a lot of bombers in that case. But if you want to invest in bombers, you can definitely become very good at them. Very good, so that you may actually defeat a lot of the average fighter pilots, let's say that. Anyway, before we begin on the details of this plane, do make sure to like the video, leave me a comment, really helps me out. Do you like the B-17s? Do you fly other bombers more often? Do you prefer others? Which nation is the best bomber nation? Let me know, guys. And also, if you have not subscribed yet, do so. There is a lot of content coming up on the channel, you don't want to miss it, so hit that subscribe button. Also, do join me on my other channels, my local and Rumble channels. The links are in the description below. Thank you very much for any effort you put in there. Okay, so for the details on this plane, the maximum speed in this plane at sea level without web is 371 kilometers an hour, with web 388. At 4,500 meters still go up to 338 kilometers an hour without web, and 350-ish with. It is very difficult to get over that because you overheat the engine with extensive web usage, and at the higher altitude this is quite extensive. You get into the red, and you get all kinds of flashing meters then. So yeah, you just want to release the web button there. So it might be a little bit more if you want to kill the engine, but 350 is reachable. At 6,500 meters you can go up to 318 kilometers an hour without web, and 330-ish with. Again, same issue with the overheating. There is extensive overheating in this plane. This is an average speed bomber, not too slow, not too fast. She is alright when it comes to 4-engined bombers, but as you see, the ME-264 easily gains on us. It is difficult sometimes to escape these gunship kind of 20mm gun bearing planes. I almost get screwed by this guy, but I managed to get my shots on target in a bit, you will see. Top speed in a dive in this plane is 490 for the red line and 540 for the rip speed. This is not a big window, but there is you won't get into a dive in this plane anyway, so no problem there. For the control stiffening, I don't even want to start there. There's no issue there. You don't want to maneuver too much in a dive in this plane anyway. You rip off a wing fairly easily, and so yeah, the control stiffening issues are not an issue in this plane because it's not relevant. Stall speed in the plane is 150. If you want to make loops, then you can try. Remember 150, right? The firepower in this plane is, for the turrets, is good. There is no offensive guns, of course. There are a lot of turrets. The turret placement is quite good. It covers all of your basics. You have double guns pretty much everywhere, so that is nice. The B-17s not called Flying Fortresses for nothing. They have good coverage, good placement of the turret, and a good number of turrets. You run with 4 double 12.7 M2 Browning machine gun turrets with 500 rounds or better, and you have 5 12.7 M2 single Browning machine gun turrets with 300 to 600 rounds per gun. It varies per gun. Most of the dual wielding turrets have 500 rounds per gun, so that is good, and the back one has 575, I believe, so that is good. For the belts, there's 3 options. You can use the default belt, which runs with an armor-piercing incendiary tracer round and 2 AP rounds and then an incendiary shell. You then have the armored belt, which has 3 AP shells and then an APIT. And the universal belt has an armor-piercing incendiary, an incendiary, and another API and an APIT, which is a very flammable belt. It has incendiary and everything, and thus I would recommend you to use the universal belt. It creates the most fires, and yeah, it is quite efficient for air-to-air target practice. Although 50 cals are a bit iffy when it comes to that. They're not the best guns for finishing off the planes, but you can with a good burst. You just need to get the good burst on target. This plane of course has bomb loads, and the bomb loads are quite extensive. I like them because they bring good amounts. You have the you start with 8 500 pound bombs, then you have a 12 500 pound version there. You have 6 1000 pound bombs or 8 1000 pound bombs, and then you have the 2000 bomb loads with 2 times 2000 pounders and 4 times 2000 pounders. So there is quite a few bomb loads to choose from. Of course, at the end you want to take the 8 1000 pounders or the 4 2000 pounders. I ran with the 4 2000 pounders as 2 of them kill a base off, and usually that is enough, and 2 bases for a run is alright, I guess. It is not spectacular, let's say, the bomb loads, but they are they're solid. As I said, the ammo loads on the turrets are fine as well, with 300 to 600 rounds per gun and double coverage everywhere. The turret placement is great. Performance in this plane is not great. Acceleration and the energy retention are not great, of course, but they're decent for a bomber. Climb rate is also decent, enough to climb to a little bit more altitude than the 4500 spawn altitude that you usually get with the bomber air start. You can usually climb to 5500, and that is enough to avoid most enemy fighters and interceptors, which is awesome, because you can then, as they climb up to you, you can have a better gunnery experience towards them as they fly slower and they need to get up to you. So the angles and the aim, the lead that you need to have for them is often less. Of course, later in the game you will always have problems if your team folds, but most of the time, most of my matches, I was able to fly back to base and go in for a second run, which is quite nice to have in a bomber. If you have a bomber that can achieve you a second run, more or less guaranteed, then you can call the bomber performance quite good. Turn time in this plane is bad to below average with flaps. The flaps rip off at around 420 kilometers an hour, so that is okay-ish, I guess. Maneuverability is well, is bad, right? It doesn't turn very well, and the roll rate in the plane is bomber-like. It doesn't want to roll over the top, and you will go into a dive when you try to force it over into a roll. It will be very dangerous, especially on lower altitudes, but also on any altitude, because as you go into that half dive, you will get into the negative G's, and very dangerous for the wing snaps, man. I tried it a few times and I got a wing snap every time, so you need to be careful there. Keep it under control and just don't roll over the top. This is about the maximum. If you try to go further, then you get into that danger zone, especially when you're loaded with your bombs. There is, as I said, overheating in this plane, which is quite bad. It does need a lot of management. It does take constant management, actually, especially if you use web. When you don't use web, it will take a while, but once you get to the overheating stage, you will need to fly on 90%. An easy fix for that is to fly from the start at 95%. You will take a lot longer to overheat. On most maps you won't overheat, but on the hotter maps you might want to fly at 90% actually, to keep that overheating down. Durability in the plane is decent. It can take quite a bit of damage, but you will still get killed, you know, if you get hit on the wrong place. Of course, you get a lot of fires. You have your extinguisher in this plane, so that works. It works multiple times, so that's good. Yeah, so I didn't fly any bombers before the extinguisher was introduced, and this was my first use of extinguishers on bombers, and I was quite happy with the how it works. So you can definitely extinguish those fires on this thing. Let's see. We have the repair cost is 6,206 silver lions, and that is a bit average. Might be slightly above average. It's quite decent. Not a bad repair cost there, and I wouldn't think so with bombers. If they want to keep people flying in bombers, they shouldn't make a repair cost very high for that. The rewards in this plane for the research points, it has a 560% modifier with a 1.6 multiplier, and the Silver Lion rewards have a 750% modifier with a 2.5 multiplier. The research point rewards are actually bad, but the Silver Lion one is very good. way up there. So this plane you can use for earning money, not really for the research points. I'll see you in the conclusion. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. The B-17G is a base bomber. That is basically how you want to fly her. You want to, once you spawn, you want to take her up a little bit more, as much as you can. Especially on larger maps, you will have trouble. You might be better off diving on larger maps. But on anything but the most big maps, you will be able to get her up to 6,000 meters, 5,500, 6,000 meters. On most maps, except the most big ones, you will be able to get this plane before you get any of the fighters in view. You will be able to get her to 5,500 meters, 6,000 meters sometimes on slightly larger maps, and you'll be able to be quite safe from most of the fighters that get out there at this battle rating. You do not meet hornets and stuff like that every day that can just climb the heck out of things, and those will get you probably, but if they are not there, and they're quite rare, you will be able to fly to your bases, get your first run done, get back, maybe get in a gunnery fight against a bomber, maybe get that bomber, or get a fighter that comes after you and tries to helicopter up at you, and then go back to base, reload, and go for some column, or go for another base, you know what. And whoever attacks you, then you can try to get them as well. It can be quite profitable, even if you die in this plane. To do that, you just need to make sure that you just don't go flying straight to an enemy base and try to drop altitude for speed because of that. Because in the deflection shots you get from fighters, then you will most likely die. You just need to make sure you get some altitude, drop the bombs off, get back to base, get a second run in. If you do that, this plane will make you money. It is quite nice to fly, and I think it's an iconic plane, right? It looks so goddamn good. It's written in all of our memories, at least in my memory, as I grew up in the 80s and the 90s when there were still a lot of movies made on the Second World War, and this was still really front and center to much of the education that we got. We still got taught about that in school, about that little part in history. I believe these days it's much less, unfortunately. But that is what it is. Guys, this plane, definitely worth your time to try it out a little bit. Looks awesome, iconic plane, and she can still perform if you put a little bit of time in her. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.